Hi, it's Dwyer. Always 1776.com, a free site. Also, wealthspinning.blogspot.com, a free site. It's February 16th, 2025. Let's talk about the state of the economy. First, let me give a warning here. Please take it to heart. Nothing I say in this video should be construed as investment advice. I want everyone here to do their own due diligence. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, there is a great video, really outstanding. It's a thoughtful money video. It's Adam Taggart interviewing Melody Wright. Now, she's excellent. She's a housing market observer. And she tells a story that all of us need to take to heart, right? She talks about the collapse of Airbnbs in some areas. And she talks about an Airbnb person talking to another, expressing concern because her Airbnb business is not pulling in the money that it once did. So she asked the market consultant, she says, look, we're doing the same things that we did when we were making more money. We've streamlined our process. We're delivering more value. We, are dotting the I's and crossing the T's. What else can we do to get back to where we were financially? And Melody Wright simply says to Adam Taggart something that all of us should be wondering and thinking about. She points out that the Airbnb owner just did not understand that sometimes it's not about what you're doing. Maybe your business is operating at exactly the same way that it was before during the boom times. Maybe what's hurting your business is the economy. Maybe the profits are simply not there. Maybe the consumer is squeezed to the point where consumers are no longer consuming Airbnbs like they did during the profitable times. Right now, people don't think about the state of the economy. There's always that feeling that if we just put a new CEO in, if we just elect a new president, things are going to turn around and happy days will be here again. Now, I'm just telling people that Donald Trump is in front of a recession here. Right? An economy as big as the United States, on a planet as big as the world, simply can't change course on a dime and somehow get back to profitability. That's not the way life works. Simply put, it doesn't matter who the president is right now. When you have a stock market as overvalued as our stock market is, what if I told you that the stock market is at least 40% overvalued? Right? Again, please Google the Buffett indicator. It's at least 40% overvalued. What's a new CEO going to do? If I told you that the housing market, by historical standards, is massively overvalued, again, what is a president going to do? We found out the answer, right? Trump's been in office now a few days. He's going to try to tax you more. Folks, that's what a tariff is. Right? You're the one paying the tariff. I've said so in countless videos. The government's going to come up with a way to remain sustainable, to pay its bills, right? It's going to come up with revenue grabbing ventures to try to be able to pay its bills. It's going to try to lower costs. Right? Tens of thousands of federal workers accepted Trump's buyout offer. Now, of course, Trump and Elon are firing people in the federal government because, of course, the current system is unsustainable. So just understand, we're going to have a recession. The powers that be don't gain anything by telling you that. It might actually lead to panic, right? It might actually speed up the liquidation of bad investments like Airbnbs in some places, like second homes in some places, like first homes in some places. Have people figured out that it's cheaper in many parts of the United States right now to rent than it is to own? Right, folks, the market's going to revert to the mean. So let's talk about some other concepts, right? The first is we're looking at a recession. Every politician is going to put on their best happy face and tell you that they're fighting for you. Right? Isn't that what they're all going to do? Right? Just understand, history has shown us that the incumbent party is likely to lose congressional seats in the midterms. Right? There's going to be an opportunity for someone to make the argument that as people are losing their jobs, as the economy is slowing down, they can find a way to create new jobs. Right, to increase economic activity. Folks, the world I live in is governed by supply and demand. Right, just understand that when the price of a home is far above the historical norm in terms of how many years of median income it takes to buy the home, there's very little the politicians can do. When the stock market aggregate is up 100% higher than it should be in terms of stock valuations, there's very little that the politicians can do, right? We don't mind the stocks that are producing having elevated stock values, right? NVIDIA, for all its problems, they're actually producing. AI is a game changer. We can argue over what the profit margin should be in the AI space. But understand, the problem's not the NVIDIAs. The problem are these companies that are being buoyed by their inclusion in passive investment ETFs, right? These companies that don't have the profits to justify the stock price. Let's shift gears. I'm going to talk about a politician I have a high regard for. This guy is one of the best world leaders I know of right now, but he recently made a misstep. And as I see it, the misstep is systemic. Right? Milei, Argentina. Right? I love him. When he was running for office, he openly called himself an anarcho-capitalist. Right? Someone who is committed to capitalism. Someone who views all these governments and all these leaders as really a side issue that you just have to deal with, like the weather. Right? If it's raining outside, you'll bring an umbrella with you. Right? It's not that these politicians are adding any value. Right? But of course, during your day, you're going to do things to provide for your family. Right? If you're a capitalism, if you believe in capitalism, you're going to rely on market forces like supply and demand. Well, let me just say, Milei made a misstep. Now, I have a crypto site. I follow crypto on a daily basis. It's Dwyer, D-W-Y-E-R, 70905.substack.com. right? Again, it's Dwyer 70905.substack.com. I follow crypto. I understand there's a Bitcoin maximalist crowd out there. I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist. But I also understand when a foreign leader has gotten bad advice and is pushing what's called a meme coin. Understand, I don't believe in meme coins, right? Whether it's Doge, whether it's something else. Well, just to understand, Malay, an anarcho-capitalist, someone who believes in things like gold, silver, right? Hard money. He got lulled into endorsing a meme coin, Libra. You know what happened. After he endorsed Libra for commerce in Argentina, several cronies, perhaps the people advising him to endorse Libra, then were able to cash in as Libra jumped in value. After they cashed in to the tune of more than $100 million, Malay woke up and realized that he had been had. Now, Bitcoin maximalists like Max Kaiser, and understand Malay is not anti-Bitcoin. Bitcoin maximalists like Max Kaiser, and this battle is taking place right now on X, Elon Musk's site. Max Kaiser basically is pointing out that Malay never understood Bitcoin. In other words, the fact that a currency is digital does not make it Bitcoin. Right? Bitcoin is its own universe. Bitcoin, limited supply. Proof of work, not proof of stake. Right? Has network effects from being the first mover in the space. Right? The argument Max Kaiser is quietly making is that Malay didn't understand any of the advantages that Bitcoin brought to the table. Right? Let me point out a basic premise I have here in this site. It's that there are very few experts in life. Right? Just because you're a participant doesn't mean you're an expert. You should question what I say here. Right? I myself question what I say here at times. Right? Just because I'm watching a TV doesn't mean I know how that TV works. Now, I'm just telling you that many of the do-gooders, people in Congress, for example, pushing for a Bitcoin reserve, have no idea what the rollout would cause. Right? There are always unintended consequences in government actions. Let me make the case here against the Bitcoin reserve. Folks, let me just point out that several central banks right now are collecting gold. If you're in the gold market, you know that there's an ongoing paper gold controversy, isn't there? People claiming to have gold that don't. Right? You have a piece of paper that says you're entitled to some gold that supposedly is being held in a vault overseas, and then you come to find out that that gold has been rehypothecated. Right, folks? Do we really want the government involved in a Bitcoin reserve? Do you really want the potential for volatility that could be caused by some people in government doing dumb things like depleting a Bitcoin reserve all at once? Right, folks? The United Kingdom used to have a lot of gold. Then they had an errant prime minister who sold a lot of the gold at much lower prices than the prices today. Right? These are the kind of things that politicians do when they make missteps. Do you want the Bitcoin market exposed to that level of judgment? Folks, from this seat, I actually agree with Arthur Hayes. He's someone you need to keep track of. Great Bitcoin observer and participant in the market. He makes the argument that we don't want government Bitcoin reserves because then we're going to be subjected to the whims of politicians. Right? Bitcoin wins in an open marketplace. That's what I want. Supply and demand. I don't want to deal with a political marketplace. As it is in the world, you have senators like Elizabeth Warren right now, right? In my opinion, not someone who gets positive results for working men and women. You have folks like Elizabeth Warren, who of course is out there. She's talking a good game, talks about the need for regulation and, control, and how some people someplace have lost money investing in Bitcoin and we can't trust it and stuff like that. I don't want the Elizabeth Warrens of the world impacting the Bitcoin marketplace. I certainly don't want the United States having not just billions but trillions of dollars of Bitcoin with the ability to suddenly be as foolish as the UK was in divesting itself and, of course, hurting Bitcoin holders because of the mass liquidation of a United States Bitcoin reserve. Right? Leave Bitcoin to the free market. Don't mess with us. Right? Sure, there'd be a short-term gain if suddenly the government were to announce that it were collecting Bitcoin, building up a reserve. Sure, you would get a big boost. Bitcoin would be legitimated. Is it worth the long-term cost of being beholden to government? I don't think it is. Let's shift gears and let's talk about simple devices that are actually going to hurt commerce. I went to a Togos, and I love Togos. This isn't a slap at Togos. But I went to a Togos with my daughter. We were excited, right? I thought to myself, as parents do, hey, I'll get a big sandwich. My daughter likes to copy me. I'll then give her half the sandwich. So she'll be able to eat the same food that I'm eating, right? It'll be a good father-daughter moment. So I go into the Togos and understand the way Togos works. You pay, they take your money, then they make your sandwich, right? So certain bells and whistles will be thought of by the sandwich maker as they make your sandwich. So you want the sandwich maker thinking, hey, this person's a good customer. This person appreciates my work. This person gave me a reasonable tip. Right? What sandwich maker is going to give you the freshest piece of lettuce or the freshest slice of tomato if you haven't given them a fair tip? Right? So just to understand how this worked. So I show up, I pay with a debit card or a credit card, right? Whatever I used. I pay with it, and then I get the machine. They hand me the machine. And the machine had blocks for the tip. There was a block, of course, for no tip. Right? I'm guessing if I checked that box, I was going to get lettuce that wasn't prime lettuce. I was going to get onions that wasn't prime onions. Right? If the sandwich maker had any discretion, and at some of these stores they weigh the amount of meat they're giving you, I wasn't going to get any extra meat. So I didn't check the no tip box, right? Plus I want the worker to get a tip. Right? You want people to feel good about what they're doing. So then there was a 15% box. And I thought, okay, 15% is a fair tip. Right? But wow, that changed the price. Understand, Togo sandwiches now, particularly if you're ordering large sandwiches, are often more than 15 bucks. So let's just do the math. That 15% tip, well, 10% of 15 bucks is $1.50. Let's add another 75 cents. That's $2.25. Right, for the sandwich. And understand, the sandwich is part of the meal. You're there with your daughter, you have a bag of chips, don't you? You have a bag of chips for her, you have a bag of chips for yourself. Then, of course, the soda, folks, they're not giving you the soda for 99 cents. Right? This is this is Togo's. Obviously, I go to Subway as well. Let me just point out that with the 2 drinks and the 2 bags of chips, now we're up around 25 bucks. So understand that 15% tip is $2.50 plus $1.25. Right? That's $3.75. They had another box, 20% tip. Right? Again, do the math. Well, let me just say this. So there I was at Subway, and I realized that I was about to pay around a $5 tip on a meal for 2. And one of the people eating was a 9-year-old. Right? It wasn't even like it was me and another adult. It's me and my child. So then I was thinking to myself, you know what? All this pressure here about in-store tipping, what am I doing? Right? It's not like the interior of the Togos was plush. There were just a few tables and a few hard chairs. Right? My daughter and I could have been at home. I could have been tipping a DoorDash or an Uber delivery person for this. Right? If I'm up in the $5 range in terms of how much I'm going to pay above and beyond the price of the food, right? And if I'm factoring in my travel costs, right? How much was the gas that I put in my car? How much have I been spending to maintain my car? Then I'm in the range where it might just be better for me to, on my phone, pull up the DoorDash app and order the food. This way my daughter and I can just hang out at home. She doesn't have to get dressed. I don't have to worry about her asking to go to the bathroom and then me thinking, gee, am I going to take her at 9 into the men's room to use the bathroom there? Or am I going to hang out outside the women's bathroom hoping that there isn't some sexual deviant in the bathroom? Right? Just understand that well-meaning, and it's well-meaning, tip option box that they give you, where I can click and I can pay 10%, 15%, 20%, some customized tip. Right? That makes going to the restaurant itself worth less than ordering the same restaurant's food at home, particularly if you're an Uber One subscriber or a DoorDash Pass subscriber getting deals on home delivery. Right? If I'm going to pay a premium, I might as well pay it in such a way where I don't have to travel to the restaurant, particularly with a young child who you have to keep an eye on. Right? Well, what I want people to understand is how deflationary DoorDash is. DoorDash now has virtual restaurants on it. So I open my DoorDash app and I see a restaurant I don't recognize. Right? Some burger place that looks enticing. Then I Google the address and I find out that the address is the local Denny's. In other words, you have restaurants figuring out we can supplement our income by coming up with new product lines. Right? We can save money by having new product lines where no one shows up at the restaurant other than a DoorDash delivery person or an Uber delivery person for this secret menu that people at the restaurant don't know we're selling. So there's a burger place operating out of my local Denny's. There's a melt place. They give melted cheese sandwiches operating out of my local Denny's. Right? Just understand that the economics of running a restaurant now have changed considerably. I only become aware of these virtual restaurants when I open my DoorDash app. I don't see a single ad for any of these virtual restaurants. But it's genius because when do you open your DoorDash app? It's when you're hungry. It's when you're about to buy food. It's when you're in the ninth inning of deciding whether to buy food. And then you see what's out there. So, of course, understand, Denny's, not the virtual restaurants that are operating out of the Denny's, but Denny's itself is closing restaurants. As I said, folks, we're on the front end of a recession. Figure it out. Popeyes is concerned about slowing traffic in its restaurants. Starbucks. No longer can I just walk in a Starbucks and linger. Now I have to buy something. Starbucks, in fact, for fiscal year 2025, is no longer giving fiscal year guidance. Just understand, the reason for them not giving fiscal year guidance is due to a drop in adjusted profits per share. Right, folks, the stress points are out there right now. Businesses are announcing that they're having problems. Profitable businesses are playing a bit of a game. They see the businesses around them announcing that they're having problems, and they're using this opportunity to soften the expectations for their own guidance. Right? What's the harm? Because the game in investing is beating expectations, isn't it? So you have companies like Amazon, a company doing very well, giving soft guidance. Right? You have other companies, Meta, which to me is doing very well, but they're using the opportunity to lay off workers. Right? They recently laid off 5% of their workers. Right? So my point to you is, folks, please don't miss the signs of the weakening economy. Just Google Denny's current restaurant closings. Just Google the concerns at Popeyes about maintaining profit margins. Just Google what's happening at Starbucks. These are some of the biggest names in corporate Americana. Folks, they're under pressure. Let me close with this. Wendy's recently announced that they're rolling out their pilot program where they have AI taking the drive-through orders. They're rolling that out to hundreds of Wendy's now. Right, folks, you need to view this as the end game of Bernie Sanders' living wage stupidity. Right, where we're paying in states like California. Talk about a state under pressure. Right, people are leaving the state. Downtown LA, downtown San Francisco, the commercial real estate sectors have been decimated. Right? In California, of course, rather than give you a break, they have mandated that fast food workers in places like McDonald's and cities like San Francisco make a minimum of $20 an hour. Well, we now have the end game for that. Right? Wendy's is rolling out AI drive-through. Right? You may not have noticed, but AI is extremely deflationary. I used to share an office with a graphic designer, right? Folks, this background here was created by AI, right? Just understand now, rather than hire some graphic designer, no matter how blessed and gifted they are, if you're a YouTuber, you can create a background in under 5 minutes using AI by just giving it a few commands, right? AI is deflationary. People are going to lose their jobs if an entrepreneur is told, we're going to deport all the illegal immigrants, and we're going to force you to pay every human worker $20 an hour to flip burgers. The long-term response is going to be, okay, I'm going to use AI. I'm going to figure out how to use robotics. I'm going to figure out how to expand my app so that I don't need cashiers. People order their food online, show up at the restaurant simply to pick it up, right? I want you to look at a McDonald's app. Look at a Carl's Jr. app right now. They have an option for pickup. Understand what that means. That means that I punch in the data. I press the button for the famous star, right? I show up. The financial part's already been handled. I'm not dealing with some 25-year-old making $20 an hour. I'm not expecting change. As we move from a cash economy to a digital economy where I'm doing transactions with credit cards on apps, I don't need the teenager at the cash register giving me change for the 20 I've handed her. Assuming my fast food meal costs less than $20 and I get change from the transaction. Think about how uncompetitive brick and mortar restaurants are becoming. Often I'm on DoorDash and a restaurant's offering a deal. If I order $15 worth of food, they'll throw in a free Big Mac. Right? They'll throw in free fries. I'm not getting that deal at the restaurant. And of course, because of these tip boxes, right, where I'm paying 20% to get my Togos sandwich made, right, just understand, I can divert that 20% toward home delivery. In conclusion, follow these earnings reports. You're going to find out that the economy is under siege. You're going to find out that it's not simply a matter of increasing the quality of the goods and services you're offering. Folks, the American consumer is tapped. Right? Understand, the people going to places like Denny's, they're tapped. Starbucks has a problem. People are lingering in Starbucks without ordering coffee. They're clogging up the bathrooms in Starbucks. Yes, our economy is at that stage. Right? Trump's off to a fast start. I think it's great that he's letting go of some federal workers. Understand, the past system was unsustainable. Right? Sooner or later, these jobs were going to have to be eliminated. Right? That's the reality. But understand, even with the elimination of some of these federal workers, it's not enough. You're looking at substantially more job loss. Right? Getting rid of all the illegal immigrants isn't going to be enough. By the way, let me make a point here. The city of LA recently announced that it believed that 10% of its population, I'm not kidding, 10% of its population were illegal immigrants. Right now, Whatever is happening in the rest of the country, I can just tell you, however many ICE people show up in LA to deport workers, they're going to lose. Right? The culture here in California understands that you can't have mass level deportations while still preserving the economy. Right? The propaganda of this war on sanctuary cities is going to have limits because, quite frankly, some of these sanctuary cities have hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants. Right? And they're embedded. Understand, illegal immigrants live certain places. Even if the owner of the house is an American citizen, you can't have all these illegals who are paying rent, who are underwriting the economy. You can't have all of them rounded up, deported, and then think that real estate's not going to collapse in some areas. Not think that commerce is going to collapse in some areas, particularly some industries like construction. Right? There's a big difference if I'm running a restaurant and I'm paying $10 an hour versus paying $20 an hour. There are going to be some restaurants that are viable at $10 an hour that are not viable at $20 an hour. Right? The answer to the question of, are you paying a living wage is whether you're in business at all and paying any wage. Right? These politicians, even great ones like Milley, make mistakes, make missteps, don't fully anticipate the unintended consequence. So after going to a Togo's with my daughter, and after standing outside the bathroom, watching every adult, waiting for my daughter to use the bathroom, after staring at her because I know if I look away and I look back, she might have wandered off, after paying a surcharge on the meal we got, right, paying a few dollars in tips just to be in a basically decored fast food place. Right? Just understand, the next time I think Togo's and I'm with my daughter, we'll be ordering on DoorDash. Right? DoorDash will be getting the money. I'll be saving the gas. I'll be saving the energy of, religiously watching my daughter. If she says she has to go to the bathroom, hey, she's safe. It's just her and I at home, right? She can go to the bathroom, right? It's not a public bathroom. I don't have to be supremely vigilant, right? The good intentions of coming up with a machine with buttons where I can press a button and pay a 20% tip, right, has led to me not going to the restaurant. Those are my thoughts. Let me hear yours. It's given rise to DoorDash, and of course, once the genie's out the bottle, then entrepreneurs can step out and say, hey, DoorDash, hey, Denny's, let's make a deal. You guys make these burgers. I come up with a website for DoorDash. Throw me a few dollars. We'll have consumers buying burgers from a virtual restaurant with lower overhead than the existing restaurants in town. Those are my thoughts. Let me hear yours in the comments section of this YouTube video. Thanks for stopping by.